Okay, great. Looks like we're finally live. Well, I'll just kick off with the puzzle of the day then, while we wait for the players. For anyone who hasn't joined our stream before, this is a Rapid and Blitz Fan Faceoff, and they'll play 2 games of 10+0, and then after that 2 games of 5+0. And if there's a decisive result after the first 4 games are played, then we'll have a winner who will be a new player in the Fan Fight Invitational that will be happening sometime in 2022. I think we just need 16 players altogether to get it going. And yeah, if they're tied after 4 games, then we're going to play an Armageddon Blitz face off. So, just waiting to see the players. Let me just switch scenes while I check on how they're doing. Alright, so it looks like the players are ready to go. Let's just make sure it's displaying properly. Yep, so we have Phoenix, who is mountphiant. Right now they're at 1926 in the rapid section, and Ford, who is wooflet, at 1858. And I think we're going to see a really interesting match today. It looks like we're starting with Phoenix having black and Ford having white. And once I see a confirmation from the players, well, they can just play their first move when they're ready. Alright, and they're off. So Ford is well known for playing some really eccentric openings. He'll often play something that I've never even heard the name of before and know all the theory behind it, so there might be a theoretical battle here. Knight c3 is a very flexible move order, so we still don't know yet what's going to happen here. Okay, so we have our Grand Prix. This has been really popular with the LSU players recently at Louisiana State University. So it's not too surprising to see this, since both of these players are from LSU. Welcome, MK. So far, pretty standard fare. I actually expected Ford to do something crazier by now, just because of the Blitz games that I've seen him play. But maybe he decided to play something more, still a little bit eccentric, but not totally off base for this match. So far this Grand Prix is shaping up along pretty expected lines. By the way, if anyone's having trouble hearing me or anything, just say something. Okay, so now black has a slightly damaged pawn structure, but damaged, maybe not broken, because with the pawn on c6, it controls some useful center squares maybe, and the opening of the b file might be useful for black. But for white, they can kind of expect to have a good structure going to the endgame, if we do reach that point. Thanks for confirming, MK. The lifetime score for the players before this game is 4.5 for Phoenix and 1.5 for Ford. So they haven't played very many games against each other, but still, it has favored Phoenix. So if we just go based on history, then probably he's the favorite for the match. So there might be some burden of proof on Ford here. And he's beginning this beginning to maneuver the queen before maneuvering the bishop. Which is, in my opinion, a really good idea. It's not without its pros and cons, though. It's just an interesting idea that comes up pretty often in the Grand Prix. Because whenever white plays f4, It expands the scope of a few of the pieces, but it diminishes the scope of some other pieces. It expands the scope of this rook, and it also makes this diagonal available. So in that sense, it's reasonable to try to utilize the fact that the f-file is open a little bit more. But queen e1 was not the only move that could have been played. Queen c7 is an interesting choice. So both players have committed their queens to the dark squares. Yeah, the Grand Prix is really easy to play, as MK is stating in the chat. You usually play more or less the same moves against whatever black does, and you also have a choice of a couple different setups. If we could just go back while the players are thinking. You can play this position with the bishop on c4, or even inside the pawn chain, so as black you have to be prepared for any of these kinds of piece placements, where the bishop is on like e2. I think sometimes people even play g3 and bishop g2, but I'm not sure it's any good. Okay, so Ford has gone ahead with f5. An interesting and thematic break in the Grand Prix. It's very committal. Of course, you can never take back this pawn move. And some people might say, okay, big deal. Why does it matter if you can't take back this pawn move? But the fact that the pawn is advanced to f5 means that white's control over g5 and e5 is diminished forever. So black might be able to utilize that. But they might have more strength on the light squares as white because of f5. So they're sort of declaring their intentions. There's no going back now after f5. In the 10+0 section, a small time advantage like 30 seconds, which is what Ford has right now. It's not very major on move like 15 or wherever we are right now, but it can grow because there's no increment. We don't do increment in these playoffs, these fan face-offs. Increment mostly makes sense when you're playing in a real-life tournament. You need to write down your moves, so having increment online is a little bit silly. It's even kind of nice to play with no increment because then you can reliably finish at a certain time, so people are usually able to play events like this more comfortably. Welcome, Anand. Yeah, very interesting position. There's a lot of imbalance here. Black has the bishop pair, but also has fractured pawns on the queen side, and white has more space and possibly the initiative. Phoenix went for knight d7, and Ford has continued with his plan of queen h4. Welcome, Caitlin. Thanks for tuning in. I think this match is more polarizing than some of our recent matches. I think some people definitely want Phoenix to win, and some people definitely want Ford to win. So that'll be funny. Maybe we should do a poll. I'm going to do a poll in the Discord server. So if you are watching this live and you want to join the Discord, just say something and I'll post a link for you. But for anyone who's watching live and is already in the Discord, I'll put a poll and you guys can vote on who you want to win or who you think ought to win. Whichever you like. It's going to be in surveys and quizzes. Okay, the survey's posted if anyone wants to let their opinion be known. Vedanta, welcome. Always a pleasure to see Vedant. And yeah, we are gaining a lot of followers now that we've crested 1,000, so. That's kind of interesting. I think that I don't know if YouTube explicitly favors channels that have more than 1,000, or if they or if it's sort of a psychological effect that when you cross 1,000, you seem more legitimate than you were previously. Things are getting really sharp here. There's a lot of hanging stuff. Basically everything's hanging. I'm surprised that Phoenix was the first to sacrifice something here. I did not get the YouTube partner status yet. The reason being that they didn't approve my request before my watch hours went down. So if you guys want to see me get the YouTube partner status, then you should probably put on some playlists and watch that content, because I need to get back up over 4,000 for them to consider my application again. Which is kind of sad, really, because I had all the requirements for a few days, and actually I had the watch requirement for like almost a full year. It's a little bit annoying that they didn't follow through. Yeah, Anand makes a good point that the majority of channels have less than 1,000 subs, and it wouldn't make sense for the algorithm to favor all channels the same. I think it was Phoenix who said to me the other day that the way that the YouTube algorithm favors channels based on their size is sort of like an inverted rating formula, like the chess rating formula, because in chess, as you go higher, it's harder to in chess, as you go higher, it's harder to gain more rating, which could be like your followers or your favor in the algorithm. But in YouTube, as you grow, it sort of snowballs, where you get more and more popularity because you're more and more worthwhile to promote. Okay, so a lot of things have happened in the last couple of moves. So white has won a pawn or two, and black has completed their development. Things are looking sharp. And it seems like the chat is favoring white for the most part. Vedant says he's going to watch a lot of videos to try to get our watch hours up, which I appreciate. I know a couple other people have been watching a lot of content too, to try to boost the hours. And we're not that far away. We need 4,000 watch hours, and right now we're at like 3,800 or something. A bold sacrifice of an exchange. Not a strong start for Phoenix here, it looks like. This position doesn't look that good to me. Yeah, definitely it was tactics time there. This is a good example of a basic intermediate move, because like the queen's hanging, but when the rook is taken, it attacks the queen, so you can throw that one in real quick and then save the queen. Alright, thanks for popping in, Vedant. And welcome, Yeeter Master. And at the end, we're going to have a post-mortem to discuss with the players, so that'll be really interesting. I think someone needs to slap Phoenix and hand him some coffee. As well as Ford, perhaps. Because I think that Ford was winning on the last move. Eater Master has something to say about my hair, apparently. Yeah, pretty slick. That's what it looks like when I shower. Oof. So Phoenix resigned here. That's too bad. He could play on a little bit, actually. if you play pawn takes or some, actually I'm sorry, so he's probably worried about rook takes, but then after king g7, white has to take on g3, and then you can take on f8, and you can play this down in exchange, but it is really not pleasant at all. You're just holding on for a draw. So totally understandable. And so here they can take a short break if they want, but they can also rematch and immediately play the next 10 plus 0. Okay, looks like they've immediately gone to the rematch. Very good. So Wooflet's closing the gap for their lifetime score with 1 win, and so he's leading the match. And Phoenix is starting with the English, which I'm not sure I've ever seen him play. It's interesting that Ford has chosen a setup with an f-pawn push against the English as well. So I wonder if this is just what he prepared for the match, or if he has an inclination to push the f-pawn. Some people just have a perverse fascination with breaking the rules. And people often say, don't push Freddy. So there's a lot of meme value in playing openings that involve moving the f-pawn. It's even tempting to start the game with f3, just for the lulz. After all, if it's not for the lulz, why do we play chess? This position is just like a color reverse version of what we had in the last game, which is really unusual. It's a tempo difference and it's color reversed. So I guess Phoenix is standing by this position with either color. So we might want to do a bit of a deep dive on whether or not this position is objectively good for white in the post-mortem, since this happened twice. And all the games that we're playing in this match will get added to our team study about the fan face-offs. So you guys can always check these games later on in that study, which is maintained by Vedant. It might be a little out of date, but we'll get it all updated. Definitely before the Fan Fight Invitationals, I'll comb through it and make sure that everything is spick and span. So Anand says he would have played e4 at some point. So I'm wondering where e4 is doable. So like maybe here, or maybe you mean d5. I'm not sure which one. With the color flipping, because it's in both games, it's the same. It's hard to say, but both of these moves do look interesting. One thing I've noticed is that in the English, when black goes ahead and plays e4, they often get this pawn overextended. Like, we'll take, and whichever pawn's going to take back, and then knight g5 happens, and the bishop, like both knights and the bishop all hit e4. But that's not the case in this game. d5 is one way to finish the development, though. Alright, thanks Vedant for updating that study for us. I would like to see more group studying with our Discord server. I think there's a lot of potential for us to learn a lot of chess together. So maybe we should all look at the Fan Faceoff games and the Fan Fight games before we go to the Invitational. We could all study them. In fact, I could make some practice sheets for the people on our server who will actually do them, if you want to study positions from the face-offs, all the critical moments. Okay, Anand has an interesting point. They said that e4 is what they thought was the point of playing f5. I think the point of f5 is not necessarily to play e4, but you could go ahead and play f4. That's what happened in the last game, and that went pretty well for Ford, who had white in that position. But also, you're building a barrier, so even if it just stays where it is, you have more space. That can be potentially useful. One of the downsides of the pawn on f5 is that there's this bishop that gets blocked, so you usually have to find some way to deal with that later on. Yeah, Yeater Master, getting on Rusty over winter break is definitely the pro move. I'm trying to do the same thing. That's part of why I did the tactics stream like 2 days ago, just to try to get reacquainted with chess a bit. I also am considering playing some tournaments in real life in the future, near future. Okay, so now a difference between last game and this game is here. Phoenix is playing e4. So he played rook e1 and e4, which could be disruptive of Ford's plans, because now he's taking on e4. That means he can't play f4. But there could be other benefits for black here. It's just a different kind of position. At any rate, if you get blown out of the water in one position, it's good to try steering clear of that in the next game. So, at least practically speaking, it makes sense for white to try something like this. Anand mentioned being a little bit rusty and tanking rating. Luckily, the rating points come and go, so I try not to worry about what my rating is on any given day. As long as you're studying the right way, eventually it'll trend upwards. And Yeatermaster was saying something about double pawns. Oh, like the c-pawns? Yeah, there's no way to really use a pawn lever to get rid of these pawns now. The only way you're going to get undoubled c-pawns here for white is by losing one of those pawns, probably. Ford also has a big time advantage here. He's like a minute up, and we're in the middle game in the 10+0. Vedanti lost 100 points over the board? That's crazy. Would you say it was because people are playing different from their level after the pandemic? I know during the first year of the pandemic, a lot of people took up chess and were studying it very intensely because they had nothing else to do. And so some people have very low ratings but very high performance. I don't think I've ever tanked 100 points all at once. I think I've gone up and down 100 points slowly. Like, I haven't really played much since 2019, and I think during 2019 I lost 100 points, but over like 20 events or something, and I was playing all the open section, so I guess that makes some sense. You scored 2 out of 10. Wow, that's pretty awful. And if you're losing that much rating, probably it's against people near your own rating. That's rough. Phoenix looks to be in full retreat. Black is pressuring c4, and he's bringing his bishop from g2, or maybe he's thinking it's kind of blocked in by the pawn to just defend this pawn instead. So Ford's pieces are looking very active. In fact, Black's development is completed and White's development is not completed. That could be a major factor in this game. Sounds like Anand has never played over the board. Yeah, and Vedant says that he hasn't played actual chess in 3 months. I guess that's because of academics, huh? That's true. Whenever you start working hard on school, it's not really... You can't keep up with chess in the same way. You might be able to keep up with chess, but you have to be kind of clever and economical. I think a lot of kids who play chess, they kind of have it lucky in the sense that they can be very inefficient in how they study and still make big improvements because they have so much free time to work on the game. Which is good. It means we can see a lot of strong junior players without too much work. But then it becomes hard to maintain. I think that's why a lot of these strong young players kind of fall off once they reach high school, because they're not able to balance everything. So balance is important. So the time gap here is getting a little bit closer, because Ford is thinking pretty hard about how to handle this position. I wouldn't say it's because the world's his oyster. It's probably just not clear how to make progress to him at this point, because all the pieces are sort of optimally placed, more or less. Maybe that's what he's thinking. Yeah, MK has the trick. The best way to improve in chess is to use it as a procrastination tool in school. Yeah, they really should teach procrastination methods in school these days. I don't know what they're teaching kids. Yeah, that's right. If Phoenix wins, he qualifies for the Invitational, and if Ford wins, he qualifies for the Invitational. And I have a feeling that after this match, we might see more challengers, because some of the fan face-offs in the past were against repeat opponents, so people were kind of just defending their places in the Invitational tournament. But since we have some new people in the server, I think we might see more people challenging those new people, and vice versa. Yeah, Anand is bringing up a good point. In other countries like India, they often have an agreement with their school that justifies their playing chess. Unfortunately, in the US, they're not very accommodating of that, except in some rare circumstances. And I think that allowing it in the rare circumstances is actually unfair, because usually the factor is something economic, not objective. It's basically about like what kind of school you can pay for. But, you know, I guess that's how the world works. I think countries that have socialized education and healthcare tend more often to have like a strong baseline presence in chess, like in Northern Europe, for instance. I think when people think of strong chess players, they often think of Russia too. But I think Russia is sort of falling off over time. It's hard to say, because their chess culture was so strong for such a long time that it's hard to identify a weakening in such a strong system. But they don't have state support anymore, so I'm not sure what the fate of Russia chess will be. Okay, so in the last couple of moves, Ford put the heat on c4, which makes a lot of sense. Phoenix defended it. This is the only one-move defense that he had available. And after knight d7, Ford is repositioning some of his pieces. And to meet knight c5, I guess Phoenix played bishop a3, but then the knight goes to b6 anyway, pressuring c4. Pretty strategic play. Normally, when I think of how Ford plays chess, I think of him sort of swinging for the fences and doing some crazy stuff. But this has all been pretty reasonable play so far. Luis, welcome. Glad to see you. Ford is another player from Louisiana State University. And that's wooflet. So Phoenix is mountphiant, and Ford is wooflet. Phoenix is white, Ford has black in this game. I think the most famous example of Anand, it's partly because he's first. I don't think anyone really accommodated chess players like that until Anand, because he was the first GM of India, right? Yeah, c4 was dead in the water. If it was me, I probably would have tried to do something more active instead of trying to hold on to the c-pawn until it was dead. But at least he doubled black's pawns for it. So now we might see that activity actually begin. But meanwhile, Ford has acquired a sizable time advantage of nearly 2 minutes. That could play a practical role here. Yeah, c5 was a good move. You know, you're gonna lose the c-pawn anyway. You may as well do some damage while you can. Interesting decision by black. I don't see why b6. This is an interesting turn of events, because for the last few moves, black has had a very enticing option available. In fact, maybe more than one enticing option. And the chat's going off about it. I think it'd be really funny if he plays like a knight move or something. Or a pawn move, even better. I'm actually curious why Anand suggested b6, because Ford played it, Anand suggested it, and they both missed the same thing. These are the Coach Robert Discord's greatest minds. Ooh, and then he finally settled for the pawn. What is going on here? Yeah, b6 is big brain time. Well, he guarded the mate threat. This is something that we have to do as chess players. So that's encouraging. There's still some fight in the position. I guess Ford just really likes pawns, huh? You know, he went to take the e pawn, he went to take the c pawn. You know, that was more important than taking the free knight right here, and also right here. Now I bet he's going to take that bishop on a3 because it's free now. Yeah, b6 is too strong for me to understand. Maybe it's just because they like to spell Greek letters. Oh, let's try to flip the board. Doesn't work. Wow, what a fascinating turn of events. Sun's going down here. And now the time pressure's on, because it looks like Ford is at a very low amount of time. Black basically got two free moves in a row just now, which I find rather interesting. A perpetual would be really odd, but not out of the question, given the course of the game so far. Now here I really thought white would play bishop b2, not bishop c1, but I guess I kind of get where he's coming from. He's playing very defensively. Oof, and that's mate. Sort of had to happen. Just playing like very passively at this stage of the game. But, you know, 2-0, we still have 2 games to decide in the standard portion. So I'm going to be following and looking for a 5-minute challenge between Phoenix and Ford. So I think they must be there. Hold on, let me see if I can get it to come up. Oh no, it didn't happen. Oof, hold on. Alright, there we go. So we're in the 5-minute portion now. Yeah, the knight really did go on a crusade. It flew into victory. I once had a game where my opponent's knight was so badly placed, and I was like, oh, this position has to be fine for me. And it flew from a1 to checkmate my king on the king side in like 5 moves. Alright, we're getting a repeat here. The same exact position. Are we going to play this position 4 times? They're playing much faster now. which makes sense. This is 5 minute. Although I always advise people to play carefully and slowly, even in 5 minute, until you reach the point where you have to just move to finish the game. Yeah, it seems like this is the only opening that they're going to play. I mean, after 2 losses, I'd probably switch with black, because it's clearly not challenging forward. I don't think this is like cutting edge theory. Like, definitely this has been played before, but I don't think it's considered testing at the moment. Well, with these 2 wins in a row, let's really close the gap with their lifetime score. If he wins one more game, they're going to be even for life, which is funny because he was coming in not the favorite based on historic results. As black against the Grand Prix, I generally don't like to put the knight on f6. Because it becomes a target for an exchange sacrifice on f6 later on. It doesn't do anything to resist the f5 break. I think black is just generally very passive in positions like this. And with the crippled pawn structure on the queen side, I mean, they're not really getting much going. Also, one of the thematic breaks in the Sicilian altogether is d5. So this position's not exactly like... It doesn't look like black is even playing for d5 that strongly. Yeah, in the spirit of the Christmas holiday, you might say it's beginning to look a lot like checkmate when the white pieces rain down on the king side like this. Okay, so black is eliminating one of the potential attackers of their king, but the rook joins the fray. Here comes d5, finally. d5 is a good choice. After we finish the match and go to the post-mortem, I'm going to need you guys to confirm that you can hear the players when we switch to the voice channel. Alright, so white is sensibly trying to get rid of the last defender of the king. And black is closing the position. Master is making an observation about how computers would probably defend this position. Yes, I mean sometimes, but usually they're holding on by a miracle against fallible play by the human player. I think objectively white's position is very good. Yeah, Aron has a good point. You might push the g-pawn at some moment. I think it depends a lot on what black does here. Now that looks dangerous. Yeah, it does look fancy. But sometimes looks are deceiving, so let's see what black comes up with here. He has a minute and 49 seconds to figure out what to do. Well, I think it could be much worse, honestly. Although it does look very, very bad. Now, my choice would not have been bishop f6. Now that it's gone, I would have played e6 with the idea that after bishop g5, you play f6, and if queen takes h7, you play king f7. But that's just me. Either way, white is in really good shape. In fact, in that position, it's not defending. I think it would only be challenging for white, but I think white still has a mate on the move at the end of that variation. Well, not mate on the move, but their position's very, very good. Yeah, maybe too much calculation. Maybe that's where Phoenix is getting at. Or maybe he stayed up late partying or something. Yo, what is queen f4? I really, really thought it would be something different. What is this, sacrilege? Understandably, he's snagging the extra material at the first chance. This could be a comeback game. Because queen f4 is, in my opinion, a serious mistake. I might have played a different move here. I think I would have thrown in bishop d4 check before taking back on f8. This is still a very dangerous position, absolutely. But now there's some imbalance in the position. Black has something to even live for. Understandable to snag an extra pawn while you can. That was a pre-move. It's got to go into the top 10 deadliest pre-moves video that I'll be making shortly. Okay. Developing a bishop, because why not? I think e5 is a double-edged move as well, but probably it's more challenging. Yeah, these guys are getting into major time pressure. And here comes the bride. The queen's threatening mate, so queen g7 defends h7. Makes sense. Black has been in, like, complete defense mode this entire time. But that's a free pawn, if you ask me. What's going on? Time pressure. Time pressure changes a man. 13 seconds. It's like no time whatsoever. I think we can only just watch in dismay, like what's going to happen here. It's a capturing spree. Queens are off. Pawns are off. All bets are off. What's going on here? Bishop g7, okay. That's a check. Aw, he flagged here, that's crazy. Here, he probably has at least a draw. Being, you know, I mean, given the practical constraints of the time pressure. Like a good pre-move would have been bishop e5. Okay, now they're going to the final. It looks like Wolf has already won the match, but, you know, we can play one more. One more just for blood sport. Even though it's decided, I think it's good to play one more just for funsies. Something to watch. Unless you want to tap out, but I think it's good to play. Cheeky breeky. Ah yes, this is what I like. The meme opening in the final round. If you haven't seen my refutation to Black's opening here on YouTube, you should check it out. This is the England Gambit, and it sucks. I'm gonna choke Phoenix. Can't go around losing to openings that are refuted on my own YouTube channel. Tisk tisk. I think Phoenix is hungover. Yes, a bold sacrifice. But now White's claiming compensation for the piece. This was a gambit, everyone. He just gambited that bishop on f4. No big deal. Yeah, the comp is amazing. I mean, look, he's castled. That's got to be at least worth a knight. The queen's moved 12 times. And I think a tempo is worth, what, 3 pawns? So that's worth about 4 pawns. Yeah, in fact, White is up material if you count tempo as material. Eddie, are you okay? A pawn is joining the fray. Wooflet does not dare sacrifice more material. He's already 12 queen moves behind. Any sacrifice could be deadly. Oh yeah, White has a chance of a draw because of opposite colored bishops. How could it be so silly? Ford is channeling Paul Morphy from his home state. There's a Russian hacker in the chat. Your link doesn't work, but welcome anyway. Yeah, is he ever going to take the free H-pawn? I've been wondering that myself for quite some time. I didn't want to give it away, but you know, now there's oodles of compensation for White. There has been a hanging H-pawn this entire time. In fact, this is the first game where Phoenix is up on time. Cheeky breeky, there goes A6. You know what, I don't believe in any of you. I think you guys are all just figments of my tortured imagination. Okay. No, this isn't cheeky breeky, I don't know what is. I think this move would have been stronger last move. Because the move c6 is slightly useful. But you know what? It's something. Makes sense. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. I read that in a fortune cookie once. Yeah, White is playing with confidence and panache, so how could they not win, honestly? Yeah, Yttermaster, I completely agree. Knight takes b5 looks very, very strong here. The crowd is chanting knight b5. If the chat was a crowd and just typing the move in the chat was the same thing as chanting. Yeah, just do it, like Nike or Nika, depending on how you see it. Or we could play more retreating moves. That's fine. We could also go in full retreat. No shame in that. Boom! Finally, knight takes b5. Everyone's favorite misanthropic chess move. And some of these. And some of these. Yes, the memes are flowing now. This is what we always needed. But alas, white is still down 2 pieces. Yeah, guess the move in the chat. Rook d1, clearly. Transposing to the king, bishop, and knight endgame, which is a theoretical draw. Just kidding. This is very sag. I think white is playing for a draw at this point. Well, this match has been like a blowout, which is totally unexpected. But you know what? These are unexpected times. Alright, let's go to the voice channel and talk it out with the players. So I'm joining secret voice channel in the Discord, and let's see, Phoenix and Ford will probably join in. I'm gonna go deaf if they start talking, so there we go. So we're just gonna wait for the players now. Yeah, never resign, never give up, never surrender. Well, it looks like the poll showed that they were hold on. Hey Phoenix, can you say something? Alright, cool, I can hear you. Good stuff. How you doing? That was a pretty not good match for you, right? Yeah, one could say that. Oh yeah, you had chances in all the games. Yeah, it was an unexpected result. Hey Ford, welcome. Alright, so they can't hear. So let me just adjust the volume real quick. Let me see, how do I do that? Do you guys know how to capture? Well, I don't think I can capture the video on the stream because I haven't set it up. Just let me fix the audio real quick. I think I need to open the volume mixer. Well, Discord's all the way up, so that's sus. Can you guys hear it now? I added desktop audio, so hopefully that worked. I'm trying to get the audio working, so I'm just asking the chat if they can hear you guys. Alright, take care, Vedant. Alright, they said they still can't hear. So how do we fix this last time? Sorry, I just need to work it out. You guys can still chat for a bit. I just want to work on the audio first. Sorry about the delay, guys. Sorry about the delay. Hold on. Alright. I'm just trying to put all my volumes up, like, reasonably high. See if they can get it. Oh, I think I know what it is. Hold on. I think everyone's individual user volumes are too low. Alright, let me fix this. Alright, that should probably fix it. So let's look at a position. Hopefully people in the chat can confirm that they can actually hear you this time. Alright. So hopefully that just fixed it. I think we have to just go ahead with it. So let's start with game 1 and look at some important moments here. So can you guys see my... Alright, they said they still can't hear it. It's ridiculous. It's like deafening to me, but to them they can't hear anything. Yo, don't come at my setup like that. I really don't know what the problem is, because I have like Discord on max audio. I have your user volume max. This is sort of frustrating. It's not Linux though.
Oh, you're running Windows?
Yeah, I'm running Windows for streaming.
I'm repairing an old PC, like upgrading an old PC that I hacked. It's just gonna be like in my drawer and gonna run
Wait, what is Arch?
Arch Linux. Gonna do some illegal activities and things.
That sounds good. Always do illegal activities.
Well, everyone's talking trash in the chat.
Yeah.
Take that comment.
I didn't come to the next. I had this stream you gave me in the chat.
Yeah, I did have it in the
Yeah, I really don't know what to do about the audio right now. It's pissing me off. It seriously is so frustrating. Alright, you know what? I think we should just analyze it for ourselves, and they can crank the volume if they wanna hear it, because I can't fix it on stream. So, so maybe the first thing, you guys played this position several times, right? Twice, yeah, twice. Twice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought this was fine to go into. I didn't see, like, maybe I should get my knight out to F6 first, but I think this is fine.
Honestly, in like the position, if you go back like 2 moves, I forgot if I was supposed to play knight F3 first or bishop E5 first.
I think it
I'm pretty sure I can even play bishop E5 here.
okay. I'll try to restate everything you guys say briefly, just so that people who have audio issues can get it. So you weren't sure if you would play knight F3 or bishop E5 first, right? Well,
Yeah.
if
And I know there is a line like bishop E5 immediately, knight jumps in, and then
like on D4,
that's
and then you play A4.
yeah. I know that like that is like a viable line.
Mm-hmm. No, it is. That's definitely a line. So it's probably just your choice if you play bishop B5 or do something different. But this worked out just fine as well, right? There's even a line where you play bishop C4 in this position. So all these different setups for white are fine.
I don't know what it is about it. I don't really have like a deeper understanding of it. I just know that whenever I get to take the knight on the left in the game of pressure, I just tend to win.
Yeah.
They can't do like E6 and then like bring the knight back to like defend on the other side.
This is definitely one of the main ideas in this opening, that if you can cripple this pawn structure, you don't really need to know that much. You just kind of play natural moves, like D3, castle, queen E1, queen G3, or queen H4, whichever you like, and then play F5. So, yeah, that's good. And for that, I think black should avoid with knight D4.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that.
Queen b6 might also be a move. I don't really remember right now, but I think it's not because of knight d5. This is just a suggestion from the chat. The idea is that if you take on b5, then there's this awesome fork. So probably knight d4 is forced. Yeah, a little wacky. So after this, I think white is in the driver's seat, but it's not totally over. Another thing that I think is important is that in a position like this, you usually don't want your knight on f6, you want it on e7. So you play e6, and then knight e7, and then let's say white goes for the same plan. This position's much more tenable, because you can meet moves like queen g3 or queen h4 just by developing your pieces, since whenever they play f5, you have this extra support, and your bishop is active.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so this is a much better setup for black. Yeah, Ford's point about not clamping down on f5 is totally valid. I agree. And I think that was more or less like why the game went the way that it did. I think there were a few tactical moments here, like don't blunder this pawn. You're blundering the e pawn too. Everything's blundered. Yeah, always blunder. Yeah, trading the bishops. So another thing you could do in this position, maybe if your position's that bad, you should just take on f5.
Well, I was thinking about that, but then I was scared that like once he gets his queen on h4, like bad things will happen.
This, I see pawns here when I put the bishop on g6. Right, it looks safe. Yeah, it's like even better because one of the main targets is h7, so you can guard h7 this way.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Honestly, a lot of when I'm playing the Grand Prix, a lot of times like I see lines where they can like perfectly defend, like they'll just end up like perfectly fine.
You just go.
And I feel like a lot of times just like people see your end up being so not friendly.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, if this took on f5, I probably would have gone like queen h4.
Like this. That makes a lot of sense. But the problem with this repeated pawn sacrifice is when you play knight g5, which I guess is your intention, right?
I probably want to play it immediately, I don't think. Or,
you have to do something.
I guess after like the
Yeah. Yeah, here, maybe you could even take with this knight.
Yeah.
That looks very janky, but also playable. Yeah. Yeah, this is the idea, that you're going to sack on f6.
Like, I see these kind of positions, like, in the distant future, and I don't even know if it works or not, and
just go for it, even if you see a refutation.
I just basically assume that they'll be too scared to go for it.
Yeah, that was a good assumption on your part, because I was definitely too scared to go for it, but...
That's some, like, 1800s chess, where you're like, my opponent's not a man enough to stop this attack, even though I know the refutation, so I'm going to play it anyway. So... It's pretty good, especially for beating bad players pretty fast. So I guess that means that Phoenix is a bad player. So we're getting at. Let's look at the next game real quick. Sorry.
This game is way more competitive than the first.
This game, yeah, the reverse Grand Prix is not a real thing.
Are you guys seeing it?
Also, by the way, like very early on, you could have played like whenever I was playing the knight, you could have played bishop e7, and just like intriguing back with the bishop, and that's just like a much better position.
Bishop d7. Wait, where do you see?
Very early on, like when I picked the knight.
Bishop d2.
Oh, here? Yeah, sorry, I got confused. Yeah, here, this is very reasonable for white, and I think that's part of why Ford's statement about the reverse Grand Prix not really being a thing is valid. That extra tempo makes a big difference. You don't threaten to take on c3. The bishop just goes and guards it.
I played one of your games Grand Prix, but I don't really play the English that much, so I'm just learning stuff, which is, it's all good.
Yeah, this is good. I think this thing about the doubled pawns will be really instructive for the future.
Yeah.
In fact, I might even use some of these games as an example if I have to teach about the structure, because I think the games you guys played were good examples. So another thing. So when you have these doubled pawns, usually the way you should handle it is by breaking with d4, so that there's some chance that either you can get d5 in, so you have compensation for your weak structure because you have more space, or you can get them to capture on d4 and you undouble your pawns.
Yeah, sure.
So when I saw you sizing up e4, I just saw that you were going to get these doubled pawns weak forever. In fact, some people in the chat mentioned that once this happens, you're stuck with them.
And this is kind of a game around him winning the double pawns, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for the first time in my life, actually, if I didn't go for an attack, I would be like, he actually reasonable plan.
Yeah, Ford made the 500 IQ strategy for this match, where every time you see him playing at like the LSU Chess Club or online in casual games, he's playing something insane. And then for the one time that he's playing in a match, he plays normal chess, so no one will see it coming.
You know, every game like the LSU Chess Club, I'm constantly saying stuff like, I know this isn't as good, but it's most fun. And then when a match like this, I actually play the better one.
It's still fun.
Also, welcome to the chat, Eric. Eric said this is President Gerald Ford versus Joaquin Phoenix, which I think makes a lot of sense. If we're going to make a historical analog here. It's a Supreme Court case.
Here I don't see why you didn't push, like, somewhere around here. I don't see why you pushed c5. Are you supposed to submit the pawns to win them? I thought that might be, like, an idea.
Yeah, if you fix the pawns, that's good.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I'm not used to playing normal chess. Because the d-pawn is handling if I pushed it there.
I mean, sometimes it's cool for it. But
Yeah.
so I was trying to get that c5 break in to, like, save everything, but even though the English didn't.
Hey, Ford.
By the way, I missed the hanging knight here.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the chat. Like, that was,
I was winning enough, didn't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
It's in there.
playing some
pity chess. Where you just go and like take every single piece on the board for pity. Actually, Phoenix,
Like, having an aneurysm.
Phoenix, actually, you have a good resource here if you play Rook D1 first. How's he gonna meet this mate threat?
I could play knight d7, maybe.
Sure, but that allows Rook D7.
Wait, never mind.
No, it's not that bad. Like you could actually play knight.
What about Queen F3?
No, just kidding. Yeah, Queen F3. But I still think this is the best counterplay that White has. But I like Black's position, nevertheless. I thought this was a good challenge. Okay. Anyway.
I was a bit defeated at this point, but
Yeah, I saw the psychological, like your psychological position crumbling a little bit. It's okay. It makes for an interesting match. I think the last game was sort of a textbook checkmating attack. The way.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there's a cool line I had in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if like if he took my knight,
Here.
basically I take his bishop and he takes back the king, so he can run away to the f5 square. No, not that. Instead, like after the king takes, I actually push up. So after
You mean F6?
yeah, f6.
Yeah, this is better.
He has to take with the pawn.
Yeah, this is a cool line.
that's pretty cool. Yeah. I wasn't planning on taking them there.
Yeah, definitely you wouldn't.
The idea of running away to f6, I had that.
I think, yeah, that was definitely. I saw that kind of line too. I think the best thing is E6. I think E6. That way you could maybe take on F5. And here you can trade queens if they don't play Bishop G5. And then here you can play F6 to make room for your king and save the queen. But the problem is after Queen H7, King F7, then there's at least this. This is really, really dangerous. But, I think this is the best way to hang on and try to challenge White with E6. Just to make some room and escape this kill zone where you're getting trapped. I think I'd probably have to split, so I think we might want to wrap it up here, because the last Blitz game, the only thing I can say is, Phoenix, you should watch that video where I published the refutation of the England Gambit again.
Ah, damn it. Yeah, I wasn't really playing much. I was just trying to play for fun.
Yeah, that's fine. But it would have been fun to see you play Knight C3. Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, when I used to play before. And also just in some matches against people I know, I've just mixed them up. I started to play one recently.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, thanks for the game. That was really fun.
Yeah, thanks for playing, guys. And if anyone wants to challenge, they can join our Discord server. Just request a link, and we can set up a match. We need 16 players for the Invitational that's happening in 2022. So we definitely want to see your challenges.
Don't challenge me, though.
Yeah, don't challenge Phoenix. Phoenix needs to study after this game.
Alright.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care. And thanks, everyone, for watching.